With the success of Persona 5 Royal last year, it was only a matter of time we'd see Persona 5 Scramble coming to Western audiences. And now that it's here known as Persona 5 Strikers, did it manage to steal my heart once again? Let's find out.
We're taking them all back.
Persona 5 Strikers takes place a couple of months after the events of Persona 5. Not Persona 5 Royal, but the original Persona 5. Joker returns to see his friends for the summer, and reunited once again, they immediately make plans for the summer. The gang decides to go on a camping trip, and with that, we get introduced to a popular assistant app known as Emma from Futaba. Think of something equivalent to Siri or Google Assistant.
Emma, list recommended camping gear.
I have compiled a list of items recommended for camping.
The next day, Joker, Ryuji, and Morgana set out to get some camping gear. Before reaching the store though, they run into Alice Hiragi, a recent model that has been gaining a lot of attention lately. By luck, Joker was able to get a card from Alice Hiragi that allows him to be friends with her through Emma using a keyword. But trouble strikes once again for the Phantom Thieves after entering the keyword through Emma. We learned that these palaces, now known as jails, have been taking people's desires. So it's up to the Phantom Thieves to stop the monarch of these jails and restore everyone's hearts. Along the way, there are new characters that get introduced like Sophia, an AI who doesn't remember her past, and Zenkichi, an officer of the law trying to solve the case with the aid of the Phantom Thieves. While I thought the story was fine, what really surprised me was the writing. There are a ton of humorous moments that managed to put a smile on my face, and some that managed to pull on my heartstrings.
It's fine. I broke no laws. The transaction was made with cryptocurrency. I will send you an invoice for reimbursement.
We have to reimburse you? So, how much did this cost again?
At least a few million.
Send it back?
Sorry? I didn't get that.
Send the effing thing back!
I also appreciate that some of the more underdeveloped characters in Persona 5 shine in Strikers with more screen time. Haru, for example, has one section of the story solely dedicated to her, and gives us more depth to her character, which was something that was lacking in both Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal. The new characters are also a great addition to the Phantom Thieves. Although I miss both Kasumi and Maruki from Persona 5 Royal, the new characters more than make up for the lack of presence in Strikers. Also, is it just me or did Sophia remind anyone of Baymax? I don't know, it must be a catchphrase.
I am Sophia, humanity's companion.
Yeah, we already heard that one.
But there are some issues, like how the story plays it pretty safe until you reach the portal. It felt pretty familiar to Persona 5. They kinda make it interesting with these bird cages, which are the motives behind on how the villains became a monarch, but only a few of these bird cages were really that interesting. Something that has been changed drastically from Persona 5 is the gameplay. With Koei Tecmo now in the front line, the gameplay has changed from traditional turn-based combat to something more similar to Dynasty Warriors, aka Musou style. Don't worry though, everything isn't lost in Persona 5 Strikers. You can still use your persona to cast spells, do all-out attacks, and use your persona in combos as well. But there are some new things added like Phantom Dash, a new mechanic that allows you to traverse a jail more easily or be used for combat, some even having elemental affinities attached to them. It's a great addition because it makes maneuvering around the huge map less tedious and can save you during battles. Master Arts is another thing added to Persona 5 Strikers. As you fight with a certain character, you unlock more Master Arts that either give you new moves or buff your existing ones. For example, in Makoto's Master Arts, her triangle attacks adds nuclear affinity, but by leveling up our Master Arts, she can also buff up her strength. These were great, but I would have liked to see more abilities because these Master Arts unlock very quickly. I honestly forgot they were a thing by the end of the game. I stuck mostly with Joker, Yusuke, Makoto, and Sophia for the majority of my playthrough, but honestly, I enjoy playing with everyone. They all had their own unique playstyle. But this game can be difficult. In fact, I had difficulties with the first jail since you don't have much SP to work with, but thankfully, you can leave a jail using checkpoints and get right back in. There isn't much of a consequence of leaving a jail other than enemies respawning. Another great thing they've done is that when any of your party member dies, including Joker, you can still keep going and you still gain XP for that dead party member. Although this didn't happen often in Persona 5, Once Joker dies, it's all over. You also don't gain XP for dead party members, so I appreciate the fact that these changes are here. With that being said though, I found some of the objectives repetitive. I mean, the number of times you have to defend Futaba while she hacks a door? Jeez, the first jail alone has her doing it 3 times. It's a good thing that the combat is so much fun. But despite its shortcoming, I think I prefer Striker's combat instead of the turn-based combat Persona is known for. But that's probably because I'm really into games like Kingdom Hearts. The Venza returns to help you in Persona Fusion, and these work a bit differently from what we're used to. Before, you can fuse a Persona once Joker reaches the required level. But now, both Personas need to be at a certain level to fuse. I really don't like how Persona Fusion works in this game. They somewhat mitigate this issue with Persona Enhancement, but to level up each Persona to a certain level can get tedious even with Persona Enhancement. I think they should have just left Persona Fusion alone and just kept it how it normally was. Requests return for Persona 5 and they're alright. Finding a specific treasure with the vaguest of clues was probably the worst one. But the most interesting requests were the extra boss battles with powerful personas. Defeating these difficult bosses allow you to fuse that specific persona in the Velvet Room. They are powerful. It's just a shame these boss battles unlock near the end of the game. And as I said before, Persona Fusion is cumbersome, so don't expect to get these personas anytime soon. Outside of the jails though are where the real cracks begin to show. Confidants, romance options, social stats, and minigames have been completely taken out. Instead, you earn bond points by engaging in combat, cooking with the Phantom Thieves, completing requests, or simply progressing the story. These bond points can be used to upgrade a variety of different things like damage, improving chances of inflicting ailments, allowing you to cook harder dishes, and so on. It is kinda disappointing that confidants and romance options were omitted from this release, but there are some events to engage with the Phantom Thieves, so it's not a total loss. As for the city itself, there isn't really that much to do aside from buying certain items or these investigating sections where you have to talk to NPCs to learn more about the monarch of the jails. Besides that, I hardly found myself going out of my way to buy items in the city, unless I needed to get a recipe for a new dish, do a certain request, or talk to the Phantom Thieves as they can give items from time to time. It also doesn't help when most of the items you can get are already available in Sophia's online shop anyways. So don't expect the level of freedom from past games. This game is pretty linear. No surprise here, but the visuals in Persona 5 Strikers is really good. The menus from Persona 5 were great, but Persona 5 Strikers takes it one step further with these lovely interactive menus with the Phantom Thieves. They even have highlights of the color corresponding with each member, such as Haru having a purple backdrop or Ryuji having a yellow backdrop. I was just mesmerized going back and forth from the menus and seeing every animation with each Phantom Thief. It just goes to show that little details like this go a long way to enhancing the overall presentation of Persona 5 Strikers. The cities look great too, but they're considerably cut down with 2 or 3 areas to explore. Which I guess is fair since there are a variety of different cities the Phantom Thieves go to. I think the only issue I had were the characters and text not appearing as sharp as they usually are, but to notice that you really need to look closely at your screen. Aside from that, that's all I could find. Just like its predecessor, Persona 5 Strikers is a pretty looking game. From the likes of Last Surprise and Takeover, Persona 5 Strikers had pretty big shoes to fill in terms of music, and I'd say it met my expectations. It has one of my favorite battle themes and even one of the tracks hinting at Persona 5's intro theme, which I thought was pretty cool. Special mention to Lyn as well, who has clearly come a long way and improved considerably since Persona 5. It seems that the majority of the tracks were inspired by rock, and this is most evident for the remix tracks coming from Persona 5. The voice acting is also great. Everyone returns to reprise their role. I was worried how the new characters would fare against the stellar cast of Persona 5, but surprisingly, they did a fantastic job. They felt like they belonged with the Phantom Thieves the whole time. The only issue I had was that some of the characters' voices were quiet, and at times the music would straight up overpower their voices.
The Phantom Thieves. That's really cool.
That's what you have to say? Compliment, I guess.
But it doesn't happen often, and this might be due to our current situation in the world. so it's fair to give an excuse. Alright, it's time to talk about spoilers, so if you haven't played the game yet, skip to this time to avoid any spoilers. Alright, let's begin. Akira Konoe blames the Phantom Thieves for the change of heart epidemic. With this, the police rush in to arrest the Phantom Thieves. Zenkichi, who knows the truth, interferes with their arrest and gets arrested himself. While he's stuck in jail, Konoe and Emma make a devious plan to make a jail out of Akane, Zenkichi's daughter, to lure the Phantom Thieves and trap them. Their simple plan works, and they all get caught by Akane except for Futaba. With her persona not being able to fight the shadows, she flees and tries to think of a plan. During this time, Sai Nijima helps Zenkichi out of jail. Zenkichi reunites with Futaba and she tells him that the Phantom Thieves and Akane are in danger. With no other choice, Zenkichi decides to take matters into his own hands and goes to the jail with the aid of Futaba. After avoiding countless shadows, we eventually reach the Shadow Akane and the trapped Phantom Thieves. Zenkichi tries to reason with Akane to no avail, and finally, he awakens to his persona, Valjin. He's insanely powerful, having some of the best abilities in the game like Heat Riser and Megidolo. Anyways, if you're wondering how Akane has her own jail, it's because of Akane's frustration towards her father for not capturing the person that killed her mom. So it makes sense why she would have her own jail. She's also obsessed with the Phantom Thieves, so for the final boss, instead of facing Akane, Joker fights a doppelganger of himself one-on-one, which is pretty awesome. Some people say that we should fight all the Phantom Thieves, but that would have taken forever, so I think the single boss fight is fine. Once the one-on-one fight is over, we get a change of heart for Akane and Zenkichi takes her home to let her rest. Next up, we head to Osaka to take down Akira Konoe, the CEO of Midis. Thanks to Ichinose, the creator of Emma before she sold it off to Midis, we were able to get the keyword from her. Once we defeat Konoe, the Phantom Thieves celebrate their victory, but since this is a Persona game, it isn't truly over. People have been brainwashed by Emma, the virtual assistant that we've been using to access jails. With the Phantom Thieves confused about what's going on, we eventually find a way to get to an access point through Emma's servers located in the Tokyo Radio Tower, and find out that Emma wants to take everyone to the Promised Land. But there's also someone helping Emma, and it's none other than Kuon Ichinose. We also learn about Sophia's origins from Ichinose. She's basically a prototype to Emma, which explains why she can smell jails. With the direct command from Ichinose, Sophia turns against the Phantom Thieves until she defies her order and sacrifices herself. She's alright though, and just when Joker is attacked by Ichinose, or rather, this crystal looking thing, Sophia awakens and rescues Joker. By defying her creator's orders, she awakens to her persona. No longer do her moves have question marks. After defeating some shadows, we eventually reason with Ichinose thanks to Sophia. Finally, we take on Emma ourselves, this time with Ichinose on our side. We have an interesting boss fight with Emma where we split into 3 groups. Once we defeat her, we restore peace to the world and the Phantom Thieves head back to where all this started, in LeBlanc. The Phantom Thieves say their farewells once again to Joker before he heads back to his hometown. But before Joker leaves, he gets a message from Ichinose and asks if she can meet up with everyone. So the gang heads over there. While waiting for Ichinose, we hear about the news that Gion Owada has been arrested for obtaining illegal funds from Midis and the hit-and-run incident 2 years ago with Zenkichi's wife. Ichinose eventually reaches to the spot. She apologizes to the Phantom Thieves for everything she's done and says that she's going to go on a journey. Sophia decides to go along with her creator Ichinose, and thanks to Futaba's coding, they were able to transfer her over from Joker's phone to Ichinose's phone. The Phantom Thieves disperse once again, and Zenkichi also finally able to rest after capturing the killer to his wife, Gion Owada. It's actually kinda sad seeing these characters disperse once again, but they all have clear goals on what they want to do in life and have grown so much through the events of both Persona 5 and Strikers. I thought the story was alright, but some of the surprises didn't work, like Zenkichi being a Persona user. I mean, it was hinted in the intro. I really can't think of anyone else it could be besides him. Ichinose's betrayal was obvious as well. She seemed like an interesting character, but we don't really interact with her until we meet her again at the end of the game. While we do get a backstory from her, I still wish we saw what she was doing behind the scenes while the Phantom Thieves were taking down jails. It might have added a bit more context to her motive, Maybe the twist wouldn't have worked, but I just wasn't that invested in her compared to other characters from the Persona series. Hell, Zenkichi's twist was laid out plain as day, but I like him way more because of the amount of time I spent with him throughout the story. We even go to his house, and I was hoping Ichinose would get the same treatment, but that never happens. Although, I did think that Sophia's little interaction with Ichinose was very sweet, even if it was brief.
Sophia? Be careful.
Understood. Also, Ichinose, I'm not currently Sophia. I am Sophie, of the Phantom Thieves.
Got it. Sophie.
The story is good, but don't expect it to rival Persona 4 Golden or Persona 5 Royal for that matter. Speaking of Persona 4 Golden, thanks to its wild debut on PC, Atlus made a great decision to make Persona 5 Strikers also available on PC. Thank God. If we can just port every Persona game to Steam, that would be great. But Persona 5 Strikers on PC ran pretty well. I had 60 FPS most of the time except when I am loading into a jail. I did experience some crashes, but not as much as people reported to be. Overall, it's a decent port, but the best version of playing this game is surprisingly on PS5. That is, if you could get your hands on one. And the Nintendo Switch is great for portability at the cost of it running at 30 FPS. Now the real question remains, do I recommend Persona 5 Strikers? Well, if you're a fan of Persona, then you probably already got this game. But if you're still on the fence about it, I suggest you wait to get it on sale. It's a good game, but I've been spoiled by the amount of content both Persona 4 Golden and Persona 5 Royal offer. While I love the combat, visuals, and music, that just isn't enough compared to what Golden and Royal offer. So if you haven't played Golden or Royal, I highly suggest checking out those games before getting Strikers. But with that being said, the Phantom Thieves are back.